I don't know if you can all see it. It's pilgrims arriving in Plymouth, and the skeptical Indians and the pilgrims are saying, "Don't worry, we're not Muslims." Okay, I guess you can all see it. So the size of religions around the world, Christianity, most of you probably know some of this. Christianity is about 2.2 billion. Islam is 1.6. Non-religious, 1.1. Hindus are 1. Then there's 400 million that are various Chinese religions, Confucius, Buddhist, Taoist. Buddhism's about 400 million, and Judaism is about 10 million. So the religions that are growing the religion that's growing the fastest, and by the way, I should have said at the beginning, almost all my data comes from Pew Research Center. When it doesn't, I'm going to say, or it's going to say that it's where it comes from. But I didn't put Pew Research Center on anything. I did copy this chart from them, so it's on there. Muslims are expected, they project Muslims will grow 73% by 2050. Christians will grow at about the same rate as the global population grows. The reason the Muslims are growing, the primary reason growing faster, is because they are in countries that have a high birth rate, Africa in particular. That still will leave Christians, if they're, this is a forecast, of course. Yogi Berra said forecasting is easy except for the part that deals with the future. So that still leaves the Christians with a slight edge over the Muslim population. So here's a question for you. How many Arab countries are among the countries with the largest Muslim population? Anyone? How many Arab countries? Boy, this is a smart audience. None, everybody says. Okay, the largest is Indonesia, followed by India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nigeria. Then Nigeria is slightly over 77 million, and Egypt is slightly under 77 million, but they round each round to 77. Iran is next, Turkey, Algeria, and Morocco. So now we're going to look at religious composition in the United States. Not surprisingly, Christians are about 78% of our population. Unaffiliated is second with 16. Jews make up 1.8%. Buddhists, that one kind of surprised me a little bit. Buddhists make up 1.2%. Muslims make up less than 1% of our current population. Now, Pew Research is expecting Muslims to grow to 2% by 2050. So now we'll take a look at education by religious group. Hindus are the best educated among the religious groups. 77% have bachelor's degrees, and nearly half have postgraduate degrees. Jewish, not surprisingly, are in second place, 59% bachelors with bachelor's and 31% with postgrad. Buddhists, 27% have bachelor's degrees, 20% postgrad. Muslims are at 39% with a bachelor's degree, and 17% postgrad, and Christians 27 and 9. Muslims on postgrad, Muslims have about, as a percent of the population, about double what the Christians do in postgrad. Okay. The CIA, and we're going to look at terrorism. The CIA estimates the number, and this is a CIA number, this is not a Pew Research. They estimate the number of Islamic terrorists. And the reason there's a range, 85,000 to 106,000, the terrorists, of course, don't register themselves with the CIA. So they have to make a guess. It amounts to less than 1/100th of 1% of all Muslims. The percent of Muslims who are not terrorists then are 99.9%. So I guess I ask the question: is it more accurate to call these Salafi terrorists or Wahhabi terrorists? Salafi is a sect within the Sunnis, and Wahhabi is a sect within the Salafi. It's a group in Saudi Arabia, which has a lot of similar characteristics to ISIS. They behead people, and at any rate, that may be a little more accurate, and our speaker may have an opinion on that. Here are the terrorist groups around the world. The 10, I think the 10 largest. Sometimes it's hard to tell how you classify a terrorist group, but ISIS and Taliban are the two biggest. The CIA says ISIS has 20 to 31,500. FARC made the news recently in Colombia. They have about 13,000. Boko Haram in Somalia has maybe 10. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Israel, Palestine. Al-Qaeda is in Pakistan and various countries. Lakshar is in Pakistan, Al-Shabaab in Somalia, and the Lord's Resistance Army in Uganda. That one is a Christian terrorist group. Okay, now we're going to look at countries who are accepting Syrian refugees. And this is from the beginning of the Syrian crisis. It's not just the last 12 months. Not surprisingly, Turkey is number one, 2.7 million. Lebanon, 1.5 million. In Jordan, about 1.3 million. Iraq, 1.1 million. The numbers drop off after those top four. Germany is clearly the biggest one in Europe at 600,000, although Greece is not far behind. The Saudis have a share, Macedonia does, Serbia. The United Arab Emirates has almost 250,000, Kuwait 150. Egypt is a little lighter than some of the other Arab countries. I think it's interesting that Sweden has 110,000, Hungary 72, and they're not all that happy about their immigrants. Canada has 60,000. Canada has more than 4 times as many as the United States, and I don't know what the population of Canada is, less than 1/4 the U.S. Okay, here's another one. I guess I'll read it in case you can't see it, but you probably can't. It's somebody leading a group of terrorists, and to the sign that says "Go away," and he's telling them, "We're nearly there, everyone." Refugee vetting, if you've ever wondered what it's about, the way we vet refugees, it starts with the UN. There's a UN organization that vets all of them. First, they get the bio data, the biometric data. Biometric data includes fingerprints and iris exams, and they do interviews. There's somewhere around 1% that end up being suggested for the U.S. Then the U.S. government comes. There's a resettlement committee. They gather documents and they do security checks. There's a National Counterterrorism Center that works on this. The FBI works on it. Department of Homeland Security, the State Department. This process takes 18 to 24 months. If they pass all the way through all of those categories or all those organizations, then there is a cultural organization class, and there's a group that determines the best settlement location for the terrorist.
Is this for the United States?
This is for the United States. I'm sorry. Yes, this is for the U.S. Yeah, this is for the U.S. Since 9/11, there have been 750,000 refugees that have settled in the United States. None have been arrested for terrorism in the U.S. This is my little thing about U.S. foreign policy. We've been in the habit of trying to fix Muslim governments, and here's what's happened in our process of trying to fix them. Somalia, failed state. Kosovo, failed state. Bosnia, failed state. Afghanistan, failed state. Iraq, failed state. Libya, failed state. That's probably why some people in government are a little bit reluctant to try to figure out how to fix more Muslim governments. It has not been a successful endeavor. Okay, prominent American Muslims. Mukhtar Kent is the CEO of Coca-Cola. Did anybody know that? No? Okay. Mohammed Al-Arian is the CEO of PIMCO. They're a bond fund, and he's on CNBC periodically. So, and he has a good book out just recently. Farooq Kathwari is the CEO of Ethan Allen, the furniture company. Shahad Khan is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dr. Oz is a Muslim. Fareed Zakaria is a Muslim, although he says he's a non-practicing Muslim. Ellen Bernstein, she's an actress. She's won an Oscar, an Emmy, and a Tony, which is, I guess, the Triple Crown. Omar Sharif, this audience is of the age like me that remember Omar Sharif. and Cat Stevens. There are two congressmen, Keith Ellison from Minnesota and Andre Carson from Indiana. Zalmay Khalilzad has been the ambassador to the UN, to Iraq, and to Afghanistan, and is I think, very well-regarded expert in the field. Malala, of course, won the Nobel Prize. Reza Aslan, I've added to the list. We're hoping he'll speak here next year. He's been here next fall. He's been here a couple of times, and some of you probably remember him. And this is the transition into tonight's speaker.